3 o'clock on a Tuesday afternoon. Welcome aboard the Postgame Show alongside Elijah Campbell. I'm Jay Phillips. It's another hot one here in Columbia, South Carolina. Hotter than it's supposed to be. But hey, we're inside right now, so that's good. If you're not, please be careful. Drink a lot of water.
I know it's not National Hydration Day anymore, but let's keep the spirit of the day going.
Yeah, keep that rolling. And Elijah informed me yesterday that hydration with certain malted beverages that include a lot of hops might not be the best way to remain hydrated.
If you're just drinking that by itself. Now, if you supplement it with
even though there's a lot of water
H2O, if you supplement it with some high quality H2O, then you can counteract that.
Our friend Jeff Haley, every time we go to Columbia Craft, he gets the Liquid Death canned water.
Never had it. Admittedly, never had it.
It's it's an interesting name. And I'm like, well, is it bad for me? Is it going to, I think
if
it's
you're
just
drinking it wishing death upon yourself,
it's just a name.
It's not going to get the desired result.
It's just, water. It's water. It's good, I guess. It's water. Do you like the fancy bottled waters, or are you perfectly fine with the store brand bottled water?
I'm cool with great value brand water bottles.
Yeah,
that's fine.
I get you.
Or I'll just use my Brita filter.
Yeah, we have one of those at the house. I like that one.
I'll just drink straight from there.
Although I will tell you, from time to time, I might, if I'm at a place or, every once in a while, like the Fiji brand bottled water, it actually is really good, man. Not going to lie. And you're like, what's different about it? I don't know, but something.
There's something.
Yeah, but whatever water you choose, please continue to drink a lot of it. Alan Cole's going to join us coming up in a bit. Alan has been doing a lot of things of late, including being at the Super Regional in Baton Rouge. And he'll join us with his thoughts on the College World Series, LSU's 8th championship the other day. We won't continue to dwell upon the secondary story, if you will, which, depending on who you are and who you pull for, may be the primary story of Sunday's game. But if you missed yesterday's show and you'd like to hear a lot of the thoughts that Elijah and I had about the umpiring situation, that's on our YouTube page, and we did spend a pretty good amount of time on it. I threw some things out on Twitter today, not that I expect a reaction, but I'm not going to be one to. Well, let me just say, I said I think the NCAA and its baseball arm, if you will, no pun intended, the college baseball community some explanation and insight into why someone like home plate umpire Angel Campos was chosen for such an important job, knowing full well that he's got, as I said in the tweet, and I'll just say these words too, a checkered history. Why would you roll those dice? And again, you and I made the point yesterday that Kevin Schnall bears plenty of responsibility for being thrown out of the game. There are some who have said, how could you throw him out? Well, I know why he got thrown out, and by rule, he deserved to be thrown out. What we also said was the home plate umpire could have shown a lot more restraint, used a lot more discretion, so could his cohorts around the bases. They chose not to for whatever reasons. Campos was, again, very demonstrative, as you pointed out, Elijah, when he threw out Coach Schnall. And I told you, I don't think he could have been any more demonstrative without throwing his arm out of socket.
Or doing the splits after.
Yeah, or doing the Leslie Nielsen, Frank Drebin splits, over at, I think that was filmed at Dodger Stadium, but was supposed to be an Angels game. But nevertheless.
It was. I did notice. I actually watched that movie for the first time last week.
Oh, really?
And hilarious. So funny.
Oh, wow.
Cackling the entire time. No, but I did notice. I was like, that's Dodger Stadium.
They filmed it at Dodger Stadium, but it's an Angels game. Yeah, it's a Dodger Stadium Angels game. But, oh, man. Listen, I remember, the old Police Squad TV show. It was a summer filler. And my buddies and I, when that came out, because I guess that came out when I was in high school, man, the TV show, and we were already just gigantic fans of the two Airplane movies and Kentucky Fried movie, which those brothers, the brothers made. And so, I mean, and like some of those, man, you need like an oxygen tank because you're laughing
so
hard. So, yeah, when the Naked Gun came out, Oh my gosh, and they're all good. And I'm excited for the new one. I hope it's good, and I'm really, really intrigued by Liam Neeson being. I think he's going to be Frank Drebin's kid or like nephew. Is the character that's the story arc? So it's not a remake per se. He's going to be related.
It's a continuation of the story.
He's going to be related to Frank Drebin, and I've seen a couple of clips and. Since it's out there for everybody to see, it's Pamela Anderson as like someone coming into Detective Drebin's office. And I forget what they're saying. And he goes, well, please take a seat or take a chair. And she goes, thank you. And she takes the chair and walks out of the office. And it's just so
on brand. It's on brand great. With that humor.
It's because she's like, thank you. And she just walks out of the office with a chair. So good stuff. Anyway, but yeah, to come back around to it, although it would be good to see a home plate umpire do those kind of things. And look, I don't expect it, and certainly they're not going to go, oh, Jay Phillips in Columbia said we need to do that. Well, I guess we better hurry up and answer him. No, but the fact that they've done nothing other than basically just like copy and paste the rule and then send out a tweet. Like, okay, we all get it. Everybody gets it, man. He argued balls and strikes. Duh. That's not what's at question here.
Well, I think what people need to know is what about him arguing the balls and strikes in that situation warranted tossing the coach in the first inning. Because while that is a rule, how many coaches in college baseball are arguing balls and strikes or yelling about something about the strike zone in the dugout?
No, they're chirping.
That happens.
Yeah, they're chirping.
A lot, and guys don't get tossed.
Right.
That happens a ton. And if you just want to say he stepped out of the dugout and that's where it crossed the line, sure, but tell people, right? Like, that's the thing. That rule, while pretty plain, not arguing balls and strikes, get that. But a lot of coaches get away with arguing balls and strikes in regular season games in February.
Sure.
Like, that happens a lot. Just because it's a rule doesn't mean it's enforced all the time. There are plenty of rules. Baseball, basketball, football, like, insert your sport here, that are on the books but are loosely enforced, or it's oftentimes just up to the umpire or referee's discretion as to when to enforce it. It's not necessarily a hard and fast rule. There's a lot of leeway on both sides of that rule. The big thing for me is what I would want to know is what warranted the final ejection. What to Angel Campos went too far? Well, in the first inning of the game.
Right,
yeah. You couldn't maybe give a more proper warning as to, hey, you're breaking this rule. If I hear anything more from you, we're tossing you out. It's a big game, understand it. But they're seemingly from warning to ejection happened seemingly like that.
It did. And you know, I don't have an answer for you, and I'm not even going to sit here and say I suppose it was. There's a couple of things. Again, as you mentioned, Schnall coming out of the dugout. That's one thing. Advancing towards the home plate umpire, not in any menacing way. I don't mean it like that when I say advancing, but he was walking toward him and, holding up his three fingers because you missed three. He did, by the way. I've seen, and I have, I'll be honest with you, I have asked someone that I know well inside the college baseball circle, if you will, if there is, because I saw a tweet go by, but I didn't have access, and they didn't show it. But I've asked someone if there's a way to get like the umpire scouting report or what's produced in terms of how umpires are graded. Because something went by from someone that was reputable that said the Angel Campos season-long strike zone numbers are not good, which again leads me to ask, I think in a serious way for the sport, why are you choosing him? So now you've got someone who maybe, and listen, if his strike zone is not good and it still grades out well, that goes back to my overarching theme that you and I talked about. And that I said, I used to sit in this room and talk about with our dear friend Tommy Moody, because it used to drive Tommy nuts on radio broadcasts. Like, boy, this guy's strike zone's all over the place. And Tommy, of course, and Derek sit, in a place up above, but looking back that way where you can tell sometimes what catchers are doing. And both ways. It wasn't about Tommy saying, boy, they're calling it bad against the Gamecocks. It'd be like, it doesn't matter who they're playing. Like, man, this guy's strike zone's all over the place. And that's really part of the problem in college baseball and why perhaps college baseball ought to be looking at investing more quickly and more heavily into an automated strike zone, depending on what some of the numbers show us from the minor leagues as those tests are still done. But it can help avoid situations like Sundays. And as we've said many times, Kevin Schnall has plenty of responsibility on his shoulders. There is no doubt of that. And we also said yesterday, for those who may not have been tuned into us, I say we, Jay and Elijah, others may say more about it, but we said, look, this is the first inning. Did it have an impact on the game? Yes. Is it why Coastal Carolina lost? No, it's not. LSU was the better baseball team, and they may well have gone ahead and won anyway. They won on Saturday, 1-0. Now, if you had said to me, Coastal's going to give up 1 run in game 1 of the championship finals, you think they'll win? I'd be like, yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. I would have said definitely.
Yeah.
I probably would have bet an irresponsible amount of money on them winning that game.
Right. So, you know, and one final thought, and I threw this out as well, is why the NCAA didn't feel the need, and I just don't know how often they ever do it, but why they didn't make Angel Campos available to a pool reporter. I know a lot of fans, and this goes back, I don't want to compare, this is not apples to apples, but we've talked before about a Carolina-Florida game here in Columbia a few years back in the Muschamp era, when there were a couple of just really egregious, dare I say, non-calls. And it was so bad, even from others, not just those who were present or Gamecock fans watching on television, Elijah, but those around the conference, like, oh my God, they didn't call. You know, the guy, he's grabbing it. You didn't even throw a flag. Mm-hmm. And it prompted Greg Sankey to come out with one of those statements on Monday or Tuesday of like, hey, and I'm just paraphrasing, but it's no, listen, our officials are held accountable. I promise. There was no, here's why he didn't call it, here's the sequence of events, here's what they were thinking, you know, or anything like that. But it was because it was like, how can this be allowed to happen with no accountability? Oh, they're held accountable, but they're not held publicly accountable. And again,
source, trust me, bro.
Right. Should they, yeah. Should they be put in front of the entire room? No, I get it. Would I like that? Sometimes. But should they be, when there is something that is so controversial and does have such a direct impact, should there at least be an opportunity made to speak with a pool reporter? Absolutely. And in this case, Angel Campos owes an explanation. I'm not going to say right, wrong, whatever. And you and I kind of talked about this yesterday as well. We pretty much know what he'll say, but at least go on the record and say it. And have your superiors at the NCAA help you be responsible for the decisions that you made. Because it was a costly decision. Again, to what degree? That's going to be up to you. But public accountability is perfectly fine. And I even saw somebody, and I retweeted it, say, when are coaches ever held accountable? And I was like, are you seriously asking that question? When are coaches held accountable?
They speak after every game.
Dude, they speak. I mean, like college football coaches speak publicly at least 3 times a week, right?
Kevin Schnall spoke after the game.
Yeah. I mean, but I was like, when are coaches held accountable? I was like, when are coaches held accountable? How about almost every bleeping day, bro?
When are they not held accountable?
Right. Players, too. I mean, we haul 19-year-old quarterbacks in front of a room full of media. But we can't put Angel Campos in the room with one guy for 10 minutes?
Not even. So those
5 minutes.
Something like that maybe goes 5.
Yeah. I mean, what this is what drives fans nuts. It's like you need to have a level of accountability and explanation. We'll get into more of that with Alan Cole coming up in just a bit. If you want to continue to weigh in, again, we're not going to make it a whole big thing, but it's still a story, and it did happen to a team in state. And there's people that want to comment. We'll come back on the other side. We had a fantastic start bench drop yesterday. We'll revisit a little bit of that, but we have a hot seat start bench drop inside the SEC. That and more on the Postgame Show. Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union ready to help you out when there's things to do around the house. Been in your home for a while, built up some equity. Take advantage of Palmetto Citizens Home Equity Line of Credit. The family getting a little bigger, kids getting a little older, maybe time for an extra bedroom. Maybe the kids are sharing a bathroom, but as they get older, they're late for school or they're fighting over space. Time for a new bathroom, maybe one for you. Or maybe it's time for a deck out back or a pool or get that 90s kitchen turned into a today kitchen. Whatever your needs, you can do it for less money with Palmetto Citizens in terms of lower rates, lower closing costs, and application fees than you can with the big banks or most other lenders. Apply online. Learn more about those rates right now at palmettocitizens.org or stop in and see the great folks at any of their 14 very convenient Midlands locations. Been in business since the 1930s. They know the area. My wife and I are members. We love them. Think you will too. Check them out. palmettocitizens.org. Nineteen minutes after 3 o'clock on a Tuesday afternoon. Welcome back in. It's the Postgame Show. Jay and Elijah with you. Appreciate you being with us. Alan Cole will join us coming up in a bit. His thoughts on the College World Series, a few other things that he's been doing, including a little Club World Cup coverage. There's a lot of alliteration in there all of a sudden.
There is. And his Atlanta Hawks are in the running for one Colin Murray Boyles, which I actually think
Atlanta Hawks. That's the team that Dominique Wilkins played for. Are they still in Atlanta?
Yes, Bob Pettit as well. But I don't think Bob played in Atlanta. I think he might have been.
I think he was a St. Louis Hawk.
He was a St. Louis Hawk.
Yeah.
Same
but franchise. They are still in Atlanta.
They are still in Atlanta.
A real team.
Contrary to popular belief.
Uniforms, shoes. They got a basketball to play with.
Ask me if they play basketball.
Do the Atlanta Hawks play basketball?
Up to interpretation.
That's what I thought.
But I have warmed myself up. Was texting back and forth with our pal David Kleiniger today. And we're talking about, Colin and the draft. And I'm like, you know what? I've kind of warmed up to the idea of Atlanta not being a bad place for him. Solely because just basketball reasons with how the team's constructed.
Right. Look, it'd be fun to see Atlanta matter again. I think they almost did a couple of years ago.
Almost, yeah, when they made that run.
Yeah.
They made that run to the Eastern Conference Finals, which I think everybody kind of knew was a little fluky.
A little bit. And that happens. Again, we've talked about it before. I mean,
it's basketball.
Stuff happens. It's sports. I mean, sometimes it's, again, like when the Bears went to the Super Bowl like 20 years ago.
With Rex Grossman as their
how'd that
quarterback.
happen? It's because everybody else lost.
When they beat the hell out of the Saints in the NFC Championship game.
And then
one of the worst days of my young life.
The Colts beat the Bears, right?
They did.
Yeah.
29-17.
Yeah.
And the Bears even got a 7-point head start. Devin Hester ran the opening kickoff back.
And when the Raiders lost to the Bucks.
Yep.
Yeah. Again, how that Raiders team made it. Like,
not just how they made it. How did Rich Gannon be the MVP for a year?
I mean, and I feel like the 10 years prior, the Raiders were always terrible.
Mm-hmm.
And they've had like 2 good seasons since then.
Jerry Rice took a sip from the fountain of youth, and Rich Gannon won the MVP.
Yeah. Yeah. Not good times because I'm a Bronco fan. I don't like the Raiders, but I was like, how did the Raiders make the Super Bowl?
I still remember watching them as a kid, beating the Tennessee Titans lifeless in that AFC title game, being like, how is this Raiders team beating this Titans team? That Titans team was pretty low.
Yeah. Well, because that Titans team, when did they go to the Super Bowl?
That was about 5 years prior.
Okay.
But they still had Steve McNair. Steve McNair was the 2003 co-MVP with Peyton Manning. So you still had Steve McNair at the height of his powers. Eddie George was on the decline, but it was still Eddie George. Derek Mason, I think, was an All-Pro that year. The defense was loaded.
Good team.
But they went to Oakland and just got shellacked.
I like Eddie George. Bowling Green, right? Bowling Green head coach.
He's at Bowling Green now, yeah. He's into the FBS.
I hope it works.
Eddie George can coach a college football playoff game.
I hope it works. Yeah. I guess
that is a possibility. Not a large possibility, but it is a possibility that exists.
Well, speaking of college coaches, Eddie George won't be on the hot seat yet. He just got there. But we have a hot seat start bench drop. At least we think it's a hot seat start bench drop out of the Southeastern Conference. Now, we'll tell you real quick, 2 names aren't going to be on here because we can only do 3.
Yep.
So as Elijah and I discussed this one today, we'll tell you that we bantied about a lot of names, and Mark Stoops and Sam Pittman were amongst the names. We scratched them because we felt, and you'll see with the other 3, that those 2 programs simply don't have the same level of overall expectation. Yeah, look, Stoops is making, well, I can't say too much money. He's making a lot of money where he's only expected to win 8 games.
Where 8 games is often celebrated.
They'll be
at a
fine.
place like Kentucky.
You keep winning 8 games, they'll be ecstatic. Sam Pittman bought himself a little time last year. I like his quarterback for this year. I think every seat in the SEC is warm. The most comfortable seat in the SEC is in Athens. The second most comfortable is probably in Austin, but they had 2 games against the guy in Athens last year, and they didn't win.
At what point does Steve Sarkisian become Mark Richt? I think that will be a thing down the road.
It won't take long because he also makes a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
And the third most comfortable seat gets into a real good debate. I would say it's either Lane Kiffin or Shane Beamer as we speak, or Josh Heupel.
Josh Heupel. Yeah.
Josh Heupel.
Comfortably take the 3.
But I think Shane and Lane are they're all right. They're all right.
Yeah.
But anyway, so the start bench drop in alphabetical order. Brian Kelly, Billy Napier, Brent Venables. Start bench drop, the hottest seat. So your starter, in other words, is the hottest seat. And your drop would be the one that you think is in least trouble of those 3. I think all have high expectation this season. I'm not saying don't live up to it, they get fired. Although I really do believe, without saying who, I think one of them can't have a bad season.
You say there's one on this list that is.
I think I know who my starter is. I know who my starter is. I'm torn on the bench and drop, but I am unless someone can sway me with some reasoning as to why, and I'm open to that. I mean, this is part of what we do.
Yes.
We discuss.
To clarify the I guess the way this thought exercise works, you are starting the one that you think is on the hottest seat.
Absolutely. The one that has the one that is in the most trouble if it doesn't go well. And these are all three programs, LSU, Florida, Oklahoma, that have national aspirations annually. I realize Florida has how Florida has taken such a dip is on the school. It's not just on the coach. But nevertheless, Florida should be better. It's Florida. You got talent galore. You got great resources. You got facilities, although you could probably use some sprucing, as I understand, from down there. You know, it's always nice to nicen things up a little bit. But anyway, so Brian Kelly at LSU, Billy Napier at Florida, Brent Venables at Oklahoma, start bench drop with the hottest seat. And again, your starter, the hottest seat. Then a hot seat, and then not quite as hot seat that you're dropping. Like, nah, he'll be okay. Ish. And they might all be gone. Who knows, man? I don't know. If the over-under of combined wins, let's say it's 19.5, and it's under that,
there's a good chance.
They might all be gone. Unless somebody went, 11-1 and the other two won 4 games.
And it's for different reasons, too. I mean, I think we can both agree that DJ Lagway has single-handedly bought Billy Napier some grace.
Some time.
A little bit of time. Bought him this year for sure because they ended the year pretty good last year and they beat Ole Miss.
Yep.
The game that notoriously kept Ole Miss from being in one of the 2 games that kept Ole Miss from being into the college football playoff.
Yep.
So that's bought him some time, and he was probably on the hottest seat last year. But
I think so.
The expectation for that Florida team this year is probably not college football playoff, but for Brian Kelly, this is probably his best roster in terms of weapons on offense. You've invested in a defensive coordinator, making Blake Baker one of the highest paid defensive coordinators in the sport.
Right?
Yeah, one of the highest paid DCs in the sport.
Yeah.
The money's there, the talent's there. If they don't make the college football playoff this year, I think there will probably be some real reflection as to what the hell's going on in Baton Rouge. And then for Venables, I don't think they want to fire him at all.
No.
I think the fans love him.
Yeah.
I think the administration loves him.
Yeah.
By everything that I understand is that they do not want to fire him. It's like the Wesley Snipes meme where he's holding the gun and he's crying. Right. If they ever have to fire Brent Venables, that's how it's going to look. But I think if he can just show a step to getting them closer to where they want to be, they're going to give him leeway. So I think these are 3 seats, all at least hot.
Right.
But to various expectations as well. I think that's what makes this thought exercise a little intriguing.
And while you're doing that one, if you want to weigh in on yesterday's, which, again, people were still hitting me, even as of like an hour or so ago. Yesterday's start bench drop was banana pudding, key lime pie, peach cobbler. And, I mean, it was easily our most
popular.
Yeah, most popular, most participated in of the ones we've been doing here this month. Alan Cole on the other side. Thoughts on the College World Series, more what he's been up to here the last few weeks. He's been all over the country. He's a traveling man. We'll get into stuff with Alan right after this. Time to talk a little college baseball and more of what our good friend Alan Cole has been up to here the last few weeks. Always a pleasure to have him on. Welcome back in. Jay and Elijah with you. Alan, good to talk to you, buddy. You've been traveling all over the place. You got to see Chelsea win, which is bad for people like me who don't like Chelsea in the College World Cup. But at least he was in the Dome in Atlanta, right, which is an amazing venue. How you doing?
Good, doing well, Jay. Thanks for having me on. Yeah, I did see that Monday, I guess last Monday, covering some LAFC for the LA Times. The heck of a venue. If any South Carolina fans are listening and you're on the fence about going down there for week one, you should do that for that Virginia Tech game.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. If you're, just see the place. It's
awe-inspiring.
It's stunning, man. Even some European. I was watching a European soccer show. Some guys that cover Chelsea and stuff. They're like, "Hey, I got to tell you, this venue." And they were singing the praises, man. Because there's nothing like that in Europe right now. There's some really nice stadiums, but they don't have the domes. Alan, you've also covered the college playoffs this year, and we're over in Baton Rouge recently covering LSU. They end up winning. I think they're a terrifically deserving team. Your thoughts first on Jay Johnson's club and how they looked to you, and certainly you saw when you were here on the beat covering the Gamecocks. Did you feel then when they were the number one team in the country that they were on this path?
I got to be honest. I can't say I thought it was going to go all the way. I thought at some point the number 3 pitching depth was going to catch up with them eventually. It turns out Anderson and Ianson weren't just really good. They were maybe the best 1-2 in recent college baseball history. You've got 2 starters there who are both going to be first-round picks in a few weeks. It kind of had I don't know if this makes sense, a 2019 Washington Nationals feel where that was not a perfect baseball team. They had some flaws, but one, they peaked at the right time, and you just knew if they had Max Scherzer or Steven Strasburg going, they were probably going to win that game. And I kind of felt the same way with LSU with Anderson and Ianson down the stretch. So, Jay's a heck of a coach. He's got a great staff put together there. You put that with the resources of LSU, and this is where you end up with 2 and 3 years for them.
Yeah. What was your kind of takeaway from, I guess, the thing that became the story, right? LSU's championship almost became secondary to what happened in the first inning of Game 2 with Kevin Schnall getting ejected. It's been obviously a hot button topic around here considering it happened to an in-state school. But what was kind of your biggest takeaway in all of that?
Yeah, I'm generally inclined to side with the head coach on that front. Just it's national championship game. It's the first inning. I don't know what Kevin Schnall said. I don't think any of us do. I think the fact, I can't remember who put it out there, but that home plate umpire, the same one who ejected Cam Canarella and Eric Bakich 2 years ago in a regional at Clemson in a tight game, it certainly reads like an umpire who wants to be the center of attention or sounds that way. That being said, if it's true that Shaw had already been warned before that, you've got to be smarter than that. Whether the warning was valid or not in the first inning, once you've been warned, you can't leave the dugout. So on that front, I do understand where the umpire's coming from, but I think a first inning warning is probably a little bit much in a national championship game. Yeah,
discretion is something that Elijah and I talked a lot about yesterday, Alan, on that note. And I think there was a warning, although Schnall says if it was real quick and not real clear. One of the things that has bothered me, and I know this is going to be more from your point of view as a media member, but one of the things that bothers me is in a situation like this that is so important and a decision is so big that the official in question isn't made available to a pool reporter, and that's more common in the professional ranks, whether it's NFL, MLB, NBA, than it is in college. But what more can people do, in your opinion, to try and persuade the NCAA to come out with something more, just so people can, to your point, like you just mentioned it, Alan, if he was warned, there's still a question. Like, we shouldn't have questions 48 hours later. What more do we need to do about that?
No, honestly, I don't know about us as people. I think it comes down to the NCAA viewing baseball the same way it views other sports. Like, there are pool reporters in college football and college basketball. It's not as common. I don't know if every single game, but I can tell you at least every NCAA tournament game I've ever covered, there's been a pool reporter on site, just in case something weird happens. I remember in Hoover last year at the SEC tournament when there was that crazy play with South Carolina and LSU. There was I don't even remember what the call ended up being. I guess it was a ball controversy in extra innings. They had the SEC umpire coordinator give us a statement post-game just clarifying the rules. So clearly it can happen in college baseball. It's not, you can't say it doesn't happen. It happened last year at Hoover in a game involving LSU. So I really don't know what it would take to get that in Omaha or why that shouldn't already be there when you have your biggest contingent of media at any point during college baseball season. You can designate one person as just in case something happens, go talk to an umpire for 5 minutes.
And pivoting to the NBA draft, too, I know you're a big Atlanta Hawks fan. I was just telling Jay earlier in the show that I'm warmed up to the idea of Colin Murray-Boyles being an Atlanta Hawk for strictly basketball reasons. But when you look at, you've covered Colin the last couple of years, you look at the landscape of the NBA now, the type of players that help teams win titles and win in the playoffs. Where do you kind of see Colin fitting best here in the range that he's been mocked at, which I've seen anywhere from 8 or 9 all the way up to 15? Where do you, A, see him falling, and B, where do you think the best fit for Colin might be?
Well, first of all, correct me if I'm wrong, but 15 is Oklahoma City now, right? To save the Clippers from the SGA trade.
That would
be. Could you imagine him on the team that just won the title and the kind of defense they play? I don't think he's going to get to 15, but yeah, exactly. As for otherwise in that range, I think we talked a little bit about Phoenix. They're sitting there at 10 now after the trade they made. You told me Lamont Paris said he heard from them yesterday. I think that's a good fit. Chicago at 12. They're at 12, right?
Yes, I believe so.
You're just, you're trying to rebuild that roster and take a jump start. I honestly think, and you probably know better than me, Elijah, that Colin the thing that struck me about him more than anything else is the level of maturity in all phases. That's basketball maturity, just with IQ and the way he plays. That's maturity with his teammates and not really showing a lot of frustration in the middle of a pretty bad year last year. So I don't think going to a bad team in the NBA or a losing rookie year is going to really bother him. And then even with us, just as media, the level of kind of responsibility he took for things that weren't always his fault. All that to say, I think Colin's a very natural fit in the modern NBA anyway. And the way he plays defense, his activity, I think you could fit him into just about any roster. He's a plug-and-play player.
All right, we'll get you out of here on today's Start Bench Drop as you cover the Southeastern Conference. Today it is Start Bench Drop, these hot seat coaches. Your starter is the one that is in the most jeopardy, if you will. So the absolute hottest seat will be your starter. Then you can figure it out. Brian Kelly, Billy Napier, Brent Venables. So you got to start bench drop those three. Who's on the hottest seat?
Start Brent Venables because you can't have 3 bad years out of 4 at a place like Oklahoma, and he's already on 2 losing seasons. So I'd go there. Bench, I guess, to be the middle one. I'll put Brian Kelly there just because you could say it matters or not, but LSU winning every other sport turns up the pressure on football there. And Jay Johnson was hired at the same time as him. He's got 2 national titles, and Brian Kelly hasn't been to a playoff yet. No, I'm serious.
No, it's true. That's a great point. That's a great point.
Kim Mulkey was hired the same year as Brian Kelly, and she's got a national title as well.
Yeah.
So I'll put him in the middle. And then I guess just because of the quarterback stability, and I think we all think Lagway is going to be pretty good, I'll put Napier as the drop.
Okay. Yeah, I like it. I like it. Good stuff, man. Enjoyed the summer. We'll holler at you here. So you got more Club World Cup that you're covering, I guess, in the next little bit?
I don't think Club World Cup, as LAFC has not really shown up in this tournament yet.
Yeah.
I will be at SEC Media Days
Beautiful.
in July in Atlanta, and then I'm sure I'll be around for some other stuff through the summer.
Well, then we will see you in Atlanta if we don't talk to you before. Appreciate it, man. Enjoy the 4th. We'll see you soon.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me.
That's our good friend Alan Cole. Follow him along the Twitters, Alan__Cole. So he started Venables, benched Kelly, dropping Billy Napier. I like that one.
Yeah,
I like that one.
I like the rationale behind Brian Kelly.
I didn't even put that. I didn't put those 2 and 2
interesting
together.
Perspective.
Yeah. All right, our buddy Justin wants to weigh in. He'll join us on the other side, and your start bench drops too. Hit us up 803-404-6100. It's the Postgame Show. Integrated Media is Columbia's best when it comes not just to home theater, which I tell you about all the time because I love what they've done for me and my family at our house. But it's also about what they do in terms of home technology. They are fantastic when it comes to smart homes. You know, that's one of the buzz terms these days, but they're getting it done for you. You want to control your AV system, your thermostat, your lights, your security system, all from one place. Have all of that hooked up together, integrated, if you will. See, it's in the name. They do that for you. If you've even gone out and just done something as simple as getting a new TV or a video doorbell and you don't know what to do in terms of installation, they'll do that for you. So, I mean, giant jobs like wiring your entire house to just helping you get the stuff you already have done, they'll do it for you. Check them out. Call them up. They make house calls. 803-948-8327. The best in home technology is my friends at Integrated Media. Welcome back into the Postgame Show. Jay and Elijah with you. Final few minutes of our first hour. Our buddy Justin on the line after we were talking to Alan wants to weigh in on the College World Series. How you doing, Justin?
Doing good. How about you guys?
Doing well, man.
Hey, guys, like I said, I probably coach because they got there, but at the end of the day, you can't let an empire get in your head if you're Coach Stahl. You got to know these things. And you know what? He wish you never done it, but you can't argue, well, empire throwing a strikeout. Listen, I get you frustrated, but at the end of the day, you got to suck it and move on. And before I go, guys, I play for Chelsea, hope to fit better and come back next season. Peace out. Go Gamecocks.
All right, Justin. Thank you, buddy. Yeah, again, like we said, Coach Knoll absolutely bears a lot of responsibility. Yesterday, I kind of compartmentalized it into three with Coach Knoll, with the home plate umpire, Angel Campos, and with those that are managing this tournament and selecting umpires. And I'm not saying a third. I think how different individuals, Elijah, want to spread that responsibility and blame is going to be up to them. And there may be some who say, oh, no, listen, this is all on Kevin. Or, oh, no, Jay, this is all on the home plate umpire. And if that you feel how you feel, I think all three of those bear responsibility. And, again, the rule is the rule. We get it. And for those, again, just tuning in, Kevin Schnall getting run early is not why Coastal Carolina lost, but it did impact the game. Period. It has an impact. And Coach Schilling, his first base coach, getting run too. That matters. Bench presence, field presence, all of those things, decision making. I mean, it matters. Was LSU the better baseball team? Yes. Was LSU a deserving national champion? 100%, man. But did Angel Campos unnecessarily alter the course of the ball game because he's sensitive? Yes. And is it the NCAA's baseball committee and tournament committee's responsibility in terms of the umpiring assignments? Yes. Did they know this man had a checkered past, even in NCAA tournament games? Yes. I don't know what else to say. Again, there's a lot of blame to go around.
Jay, one of my favorite podcasts I've ever listened to is a podcast series by Freakonomics. Someone who is a sociology minor in college. I absolutely love hearing stuff like that. And they did a podcast series on failure. And it covers a lot of things because obviously it's a very broad topic. But one of the first episodes was how large-scale failures are almost always the result of a bunch of small-scale failures. Mm-hmm. And what we had on Sunday was a large-scale failure that is egg on the face of the NCAA, but that was caused by three smaller-scaled failures. Failure to be able to adequately staff the umpiring crew for this game, or having multiple crews do different games in just a short best-of-3 series.
Right.
The small failure on Kevin Schnall to not be aware of exactly who he's dealing with,
right,
and knowing the rule that you can't step out of the dugout to RU balls and strikes. That's a failure on his part. And then also on Angel Campos, a failure of not having thick enough skin to be able to handle that for an inning, go over there and say, hey, look, I understand your frustration, but if you keep doing this, or if you do this one more time, I'm not afraid to toss you from this game. It was a bunch of smaller scale failures that end up leading to a larger embarrassment for the NCAA.
Yeah, hopefully something's done about it. Justin, thanks for the phone call. A Gamecock basketballer making some history this week. We'll get Elijah's take and Coach Paris's take coming up. 4 o'clock on this Tuesday afternoon. Welcome back into the Postgame Show. Jay Phillips, Elijah Campbell with you. Thanks once again to Alan Cole for joining us last half hour, talking a little College World Series and a little Colin Murray Boyles. And we'll get into CMB here in just a second. A lot of things going on around the NBA. Obviously, the OKC Thunder winning the title on Sunday night in that game. Tyrese Halliburton rupturing his Achilles, likely out for the entire upcoming season. He has already had the surgery. That's good news. He has already said publicly, I would absolutely do it again. I don't think there's a lot of people questioning the decision. I think I did just hear Andrew Perloff kind of say, boy, if you're a Pacer fan, you're a little nervous right now. Well, sure you are. Your leader just got hurt in the biggest game he's ever played in.
And he's not playing at all next year.
The biggest game your franchise has ever played in. And now he's out for a year. The good news is, if you can find silver linings, he's, 25?
Mm-hmm.
So, he's got plenty of life left in him, and we're seeing, at least in a lot of athletes, Achilles surgery be successful with time and rehabilitation. I mean, heck, man, look at Aaron Rodgers. And he's 137.
Right.
So
he's going to play next year.
He'll be back. He'll be back. But we've also got the draft tomorrow night in New York City. If you didn't see it earlier today, too, and this is where I don't know if I blew Elijah's mind, but I did give him something as an NBA fan like him, relative to an NBA fan like me, something to think about this morning when I said, with the Celtics trading Drew Holiday to Portland, I was like, I think the Celtics are up to something, and I think they're going to go after Giannis because they got new deep-pocketed owners that want to make a splash.
And they're going to be without Jason Tatum for a year.
So I still think that, man. Whether it's Giannis or not, I don't know. And KD just went to Houston, so it ain't going to be him. LeBron's not going anywhere, and Steph's not going anywhere. And there's only so many names out there where a team like the Boston Celtics can make a splash. You can go get good players, but it's hard to go get former MVPs and title winners.
Yeah, they're not just available.
So, again, I don't know. I think the Boston Celtics are up to something. I think the Drew Holiday move is done partially as a salary dump. Now, remind me again, you told me the number. There's a differential, right, in terms of how this trade goes down and what the finances look like. But yeah. I think they're under, they want to do something, man. And like you mentioned, Tatum's not going to play. I just think there's something else in the works behind the scenes with Boston's new ownership and with Brad Stevens.
Yeah, basically by trading Drew Holiday, that clears up about $5 or $6 million because they're getting Anthony Simons, who's going to be owed about $27.6 million this year, and Drew Holiday was making, I think, $33 or $34 million, so that frees them up a little bit. And I mean, look. When I got the notification last night, I was intrigued because it's something I just really didn't expect for either side. I mean, Drew Holiday, if the Celtics don't have Drew Holiday, they don't win the championship last year. Feel pretty confident in saying that. They're the best defensive team in the NBA last year. And Drew Holiday is still, in the year of our Lord 2025, one of the 3 or 4 best on-ball defenders in the league. Trading him for a guy like Anthony Simons, who is improving, but he's a volume scorer on a team that didn't have a lot of them. So he had a lot of opportunities to get a lot of shots up. Didn't make a ton of sense. I know you need more scoring to supplement what you're losing with Jason Tatum. I don't know exactly if Anthony Simons can be an elite defender like Drew Holiday. You're losing some on the defensive end. And if you're the Trailblazers, trading for Drew Holiday is a move that teams that can win right now make. That's why the Celtics made that move. That's why the Bucks picked him up when they could. And guess what? They won titles with him on the team. The Portland Trailblazers aren't in a window to win the NBA title right now. They're rebuilding, and they're improving upon their rebuild. But getting a 35-year-old defensive stopper is usually a made that is done by a team that's in a championship window. The Blazers are not, and they gave up one of their best scorers, who I believe is only 26 years old. Yep, Anthony Simons turned 26 this month. I don't get it.
All right, when Dame was at the height of his powers a few years back, how close were the Portland Trail Blazers to winning the NBA championship?
If we're putting on a scale of 0 to 100, I would say they were 60% there. Right.
So I'm afraid that the Portland Trail Blazers aren't ever really. It's going to take a lot for them to ever really be in that conversation again. And maybe they realize that. I just looked it up too because I knew there was another number I was trying to think of, and I wanted to get it right. This move also saves Boston $40 million in luxury tax money.
They were over the luxury tax.
So there's that part of it too. But I still think they're probably okay. It just for now it saves, air quote, $40 million. This can't be what the Boston Celtics look like.
No.
So something else is going to happen. Now, again, what? I don't know.
And how much do they have to give up?
Well, you and I were just looking at something. So the owner of the Denver Nuggets, Josh Kroenke, well, he's the son of the owner, but Josh is now he's taken a step back.
Yes.
Josh is now really running. They have 4 major properties in their portfolio. In no particular order, but I'll do them in alphabetical order because I can.
So you thought about this.
Well, I just did.
On the fly.
Arsenal.
That's worth a lot of money.
The Colorado Rapids.
Not as much money.
The Denver Nuggets. And the LA Rams.
A whole lot of money.
They are going to offer Nikola Jokic a contract extension. Elijah was just letting me know that Joker can make upwards of 60, 65 million based on current cap numbers. They could probably afford that. Now, Boston could not offer him that if they made some type of deal, right? And I'm just right. Throwing out some names of potential availability because we know that, for instance, Giannis and his camp are at least shopping themselves in some way, and
they're open to moves.
Yeah, and I think Milwaukee is probably open if the right move comes along. I mean, again, Milwaukee's gotten what they can out of Giannis. Can you go win another title? Sure, but you'll have to bring something into Milwaukee and keep Giannis
to keep him happy.
And you might be able to in the current East, but what does that look like? So, Giannis. Joker, long shots to Boston, sure. But Boston just got sold for over $6 billion. They are a year removed from an NBA championship. They are the Boston Celtics. So what might happen? Which takes us, though, in terms of NBA stuff, to what I mentioned at the end of the hour, history being made by a Gamecock basketball player. Listen, let's face it, this university here across the street from us does not have a great history of late, certainly generationally, of NBA players. It has one of the great scorers of all time.
The leading scorer of the 80s.
That's right, in Dreher High School's own Alex English. But Colin Murray Boyles has been invited to the NBA draft tomorrow night up in the city. And will be the first Gamecock invited to the draft in the modern draft era, which is very cool. As we talked about with Alan, and many of you now know, Colin could well be a lottery pick. Almost everybody believes he's going to be picked in the top 20.
If he falls outside the top 20, I'm stunned.
Yeah. Just based on what people have been saying. What happens on draft night, though, with moves and cold feet and all the kind, who knows, right? But it's pretty neat, man. And I know you, and we'll get into some sound in a minute. You were with Coach Paris yesterday, and you talked about what he didn't say names. We can read between lines. that maybe Phoenix was interested, and that Lamont had conversations about CMB with some NBA teams that could be interested. So, your scouting report again on him. Look, elite. You talked about elite defenders.
Yep.
And I think that's where he's headed. What does he need to do? Like, if we can all understand what an elite defender means, even without statistics to back it up, what would he need to become from a scoring perspective in the NBA to really kind of hit, I don't want to say the most elite level,
his ceiling?
but yeah, like what does the offensive side look like, say, during his rookie contract?
It's going to be his ability to shoot threes off the catch. He's not going to be out there off the dribble doing step backs or anything like that. That's not going to be what Colin's ever going to be able to do. But the value of Colin on offense right now, and the one thing I think he can come into the NBA and do immediately, is be really good at setting screens and making plays out of the short roll, which that just means that once you set the screen and you're rolling towards the basket, point guard gets you the ball maybe 15 to 20 feet from the basket, and you have a chance in a 3-on-2 to make the right read to either a corner three or someone cutting to the basket. He's such a good decision maker that after setting a screen and catching it on the roll to the basket, but not all the way to the basket, he's a good enough decision maker and a passer to not only make the right reads, but to make the pass efficiently and put it into the shooter's pocket or being able to give it to somebody in rhythm on the way to the basket. He's that skilled of a passer. But what you can do if he's able to catch and shoot a three-point shot, even at 33, 34% efficiency, he makes it to where defenses have to guess on every single screen whether he's popping out to the three-point line or going into that short roll. If you are unpredictable in that element right there, you become a lot more dangerous because teams are really just going to, like, you're making teams or other defenses pick their poison, right? So let's say a team cheats on that screen. They get into some type of drop coverage to where they have somebody who is going to be staying in front of Colin in the basket on a short roll, but he's able to pop. He's getting an automatic open three. And if you're respectable from three-point range, they have to guard you out there. And then when they have to guard you out there, a lot of the players are going to be guarding Colin in his career, especially if he plays about a 4. He's never going to be a center, but if he's playing that power forward slot, you're going to have more slower-footed players guarding you on the perimeter. Colin's good enough off the dribble to be able to get himself to the basket and finish through contact. What really is going to open up his game at the NBA level is being respectable enough from three-point range to be able to add that pick-and-pop game to his arsenal. And when he's able to do that, teams are basically just going to have to pick. And oftentimes in today's NBA, they're not wanting to give up threes, even if it is somebody who's a 34%
making them choose.
Shooter. Yes, you then make them choose.
Yeah.
He's got everything else down. Really, that would unlock everything else that he is offensively. Yeah.
It's going to be fun to watch. Pulling for him, and I think it's neat. You know, look, Columbia's had some guys, obviously. I mean, again, Alex English is in the Hall of Fame. Jermaine O'Neal was absolutely fantastic. It's Colin's turn. And there's been some other guys. I mean, JoJo English had his moments for a little bit with the Bulls. Stanley was obviously pretty good for a while, even though he didn't play here in Columbia College.
Yeah. Tyrone Corbin from
Ty
the
Corbin.
area.
Listen, Ty Corbin, man.
He played in the league for a long time.
He did, and he played for those DePaul teams of the 80s that were just so good. God, that one hurt a lot of people, right? Because those Florida teams that he was on, man, they were all right. And obviously X-Man, too. So Columbia's had their fair share. There's no question. But we'll see what happens with Colin. We'll get into more NBA stuff. Right. By the way, I left out the Avalanche in the Kroenke group. My bad.
How do you forget?
My bad.
Yeah, one of the ones they won Stanley Cups with.
My bad. I was like, I knew it was gnawing at me. I was like, I know they got 2 Colorado. I was like, yeah, they got the
just a multiple-time Stanley Cup winning franchise.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I don't know if the Kroenkes owned them then. I need to check that out.
They've won one recently.
Yeah, I think they owned them then.
Won.
Yeah. But maybe not when Patrick Waugh was there.
Oh, I loved Patrick Waugh.
Don't
call me Roy.
All right, sit tight, Nate. We're getting to you on the other side. Today's start, bench, drop. He wants to weigh in on that. Start, bench, drop. These hot seat SEC football coaches: Brian Kelly at LSU, Billy Napier at Florida, Brent Venables at Oklahoma. You're listening to the Postgame Show. 20 minutes after 4 o'clock here on a Tuesday afternoon. Welcome back in. It's the Postgame Show. Jay and Elijah with you. Don't forget to get our craft beer card. Saves you around $300. They're only $59. You can go to 1075thegame.com. Click on Sweet Deals.
Sweels.
That's right. And you can get more than one if you want.
There's no limit.
I don't know. I mean, I guess you can't, if you buy them all, I guess there is a limit. I don't know that they're an unlimited supply. So, I don't know. I mean, I don't think they make you, I mean, if you want to buy 10 of them, 12.
What's to stop you from buying them under a false name too? I mean,
That's true. I don't think, I don't know. I mean, I don't know how many there are. You can buy as many as you want.
I encourage as much workarounds to get as much discounted beer as humanly possible. I endorse this message.
That's right. So there you go. Just, again, mixing the water.
That's right. Especially on a day like today where it is 97 degrees outside.
Yeah, I've got 97 on mine too. So we have two different ways to read it, but today they agree. Yesterday we were a degree apart. So again, I need to find out where my watch gets its temperature from.
My personal, I guess, thermometer just says hot AF.
Hot.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. There you go. Nice.
Air Force is what that stands for.
That's right. Today's start bench drop is...
It's a fact. I don't know why it's so funny to you.
Speaking of hot. But speaking of hot, hot seats in the Southeastern Conference. Your starter, by the way, will be the one that you think is on the, it just like the seat is boiling.
Hot Air Force.
Yeah,
Yes.
That's right. That's right. The hottest Air Force seat that we have in the SEC of the 16. In alphabetical order, your choices are Brian Kelly of LSU, Billy Napier of Florida, Brent Venables of Oklahoma. Nate wants to weigh in on this one today. Nate, thanks for your patience. How you doing?
Hot.
There you go, man.
Hot Air Force.
Drink some water.
Yes. Drink lots of water. This is a difficult one because I kind of think, you can make a case for either one of these three being the hottest or on the hottest seat. Personally, I think with all the other athletic teams having success at LSU, you got to put Brian Kelly number one. Especially with Nussmeier coming back and the talent they have coming back. If they don't make the college football playoffs and maybe have a shot at a natty, I don't know that he survives. My bench, it's got to be Billy Napier, Florida. I mean, it's Florida. And when you're arguably the second best team in Florida and no, Miami's not number one, that's a problem if you're a Gator fan. I know they kind of caught fire there late in the season with Lagway, and I mentioned to see how he does this year, but I just feel like if you're not winning 9 to 10 games in Florida, what are you doing? I mean, all the resources they have down there. And Billy, Brent Venables at Oklahoma, I think the Alabama win last year, the way they shellacked Bama, they bought him a little bit of time, and I think they're going to be a little bit better this year. They were last year. Their defense couldn't stop a soul last year, except for Alabama.
Yeah.
So I think he's the one that's got the coolest seat. But LSU and Florida, man, they're right there. You can make a case for either one of them. But I think Brian Kelly's he's hot as Air Force right now.
Yes, he is hot Air Force. A
Well done,
scorching
sir.
seat.
Well done, sir. Nate, thanks, man. Good phone call. Good thought into that one, too. And, of course, Florida and LSU will see each other as they do annually. Yeah, listen, we try to make these tough. And just, again, if you're thinking, like, what about so-and-so? We threw in our discussion day when the committee met this morning. We threw in Sam Pittman and Mark Stoops, too. But Elijah and I agreed kind of to the point right there. These three schools just have different levels of expectation. These programs, rightly, have national aspirations every year. Arkansas and Kentucky just don't. And I'm not really sure. Like for Kentucky, if they were really in the national championship picture in football at any point in time, they'd be ecstatic. Now, a couple years ago, they had a 10-win season, and I suppose that probably would have gotten them into the playoff. I got to go back because their non-con hurts their strength of schedule. Sorry, Louisville. But other than that, Kentucky seems to play 3 high schools a year.
Pretty much. Directional use.
And they do it on purpose, man. They'll tell you. And again, remember, this is the school that said, "Ooh, if we go to 9 games, we might not be able to play Louisville."
Scared of Louisville in football.
You know, like Lamar ain't walking through that door.
He's not.
And I don't mean this about
Alexander.
I don't mean this about Lamar, but I wouldn't have been scared if I'm Kentucky to play Louisville even with Lamar.
Especially considering I think they beat Lamar Jackson in Louisville one year.
So anyway, yeah, listen, I did not. I'll be perfectly honest, and we didn't discuss that when we were talking this morning. But Alan brought it up, and now you hear so the championships that have been won by coaches in the same time span that Brian Kelly's been on campus does, I think, if it doesn't, I don't know that Brian Kelly will see it personally as adding pressure, but I think fans and administrators will say, Brian, we give you the same relative resources.
Mm-hmm.
You need to go do more with it. And he does have, I think, well, I don't know. I mean, it depends on what you look for in a quarterback. And you and I have talked about it a bunch. This may go down as one of the great years of the quarterback in the Southeastern Conference.
Yes, absolutely.
Most schools have someone that could start at lots of schools.
With Nussmeier being in that top tier
absolutely.
of SEC quarterbacks.
Absolutely. Some people think he's the best one.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times it's about what they can project for at the next level. And there's a lot of people who do believe that Nussmeier, they'd probably like him to be like, what, an inch and a half taller? That's about it?
Right.
And what is he, 6'2"?
Give him some platform cleats.
Yeah, find a way, man. But a lot of people, in terms of that and how you tailor an offense around him, feel like I was glad we got to see him in Columbia last year. I think that kid's good, man. And again,
sling it.
Great pedigree. Dad's an NFL coach, but just knows the game. I like him. But yeah, I can make a case.
Oh, there's certainly.
Yeah, I mean, and I think so.
And the amount of money they spent in the transfer portal to get receivers.
Yeah.
I mean, you get Nick Anderson from Oklahoma, and I know last year he didn't get to do much because of injury, but he still was that number one option for that Oklahoma team. And going back to Oklahoma's 10-win season a couple of years ago, Nick Anderson was a big part of that offense that quarterbacked by Dylan Gabriel that took them to pretty big heights. And then getting Berrien Brown from Kentucky, too. That guy, we know by seeing him every year the last couple of years here in Columbia, is an absolute speedster. And as I covered him in high school at Pearl Cone.
Right.
And that is one of the fastest high school football players I've ever watched on a football field. That guy is a great athlete.
Big loss for Kentucky.
Oh, a massive loss for Kentucky. And, the guy also returns kicks and punts, too. Like, he's just an all-around great athlete. I mean, LSU invested a ton of money in the transfer portal to give Garrett Nussmeier everything he needs on offense.
Yep.
And you're paying that defensive coordinator more money than almost any other defensive coordinator.
I think it was 2-3. I think 2-3, 2-5. It's close to $2.5 million a year. So expectations incredibly high in Baton Rouge, no doubt. All right, so continue to hit us up, 803-404-6100 on the Firehouse Subs text line. We'll tally up more of these, and we'll give you ours coming up in a bit. Want to turn it back around real quick on the other side to Colin Murray-Boyles and a couple of minutes from Coach Paris on his thoughts on CMB and more of what Elijah thinks. And again, if you haven't heard, CMB has been invited to the NBA draft tomorrow night. So a historic day for Carolina basketball. First Gamecock to be invited to the green room in the modern draft era. You're listening to the Postgame Show.
From the Wetzel's Automotive Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell with a few accidents to get to you. They're causing some issues on the roadways this afternoon, starting with one on Charleston Highway near Pine Ridge Drive. Got one on Dutch Fork Road, Highway 76 near US 176 and Broad River Road, Farrow Road, Highway 555 at I-77. And lastly, about an hour ago, we had a report of an accident on Fish Hatchery Road near US 21 and US 176 near Charleston Highway.
Talking a little NBA, a little college hot seat, a little College World Series today as well. Our start bench drop. These three coaches in the SEC on the hot seat. Which one's the hottest? That's your starter. Alphabetical order of the choices: Brian Kelly of LSU, Billy Napier of Florida, Brent Venables of Oklahoma. Our buddy Lou Bezak just weighed in on the Twitters. Start Venables, bench Napier, drop Kelly. Lou, you know we love you. But Lou yesterday on our start bench drop
disappointing
desserts, performance. Banana pudding, key lime pie, peach cobbler. Lou weighed in and said, "Drop them all." Ugh.
Why?
That's all I got for him.
I don't know. I don't get it.
What's up with this palette?
I don't know.
I understand maybe not liking one.
Do that again, because I think it matters.
Why?
Do we know who that is, by the way?
No clue.
It was
from a Vine.
Sounds like a TV preacher.
It was. Yeah, it was like a televangelist, and the footage from it looks like it might have been late 80s, early 90s. Okay. But it was a very popular Vine for a while for those who remember the golden age of that app.
One more while we're at just.
Why?
Lou, why?
Yeah. I mean, you don't like one of those, Lou?
You're a monster.
Brutal. Just brutal. I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed.
Yeah, exactly.
Very disappointed.
Jason just weighed in. Start Venables. Bench Napier, drop Kelly. So that's two in a row right there.
That is the most popular one. That there's three responses with that, and then two have been Venables, Kelly, Napier.
I said it was going to be difficult to have my mind changed because I thought I had an order. But my mind might have been changed. Might have been my order may have been altered. I still think my starter is my starter.
Okay.
But I'll give it in a minute. Real quick, I want to come back to this. We need to get into this NFL thing, too, don't we?
Yeah, that one is a developing story.
Yeah.
That is not reported anywhere else except Pablo Torre and Mike Florio.
I'm looking at some things on Pro Football Talk, but there's the potential for evidence of collusion in the NFL. So it is developing. That may be something we get to next hour because this is starting to come out.
And then more heavily tomorrow, because this was all released today on Pablo Torre's podcast. Pablo Torre finds out where him and Florio go over the evidence that they've been able to collect. I've seen snippets of it.
Yeah.
And it's about, I think I want to say it's about an hour-long podcast. So we got to go listen to the whole thing. But based on some of the evidence that they cite, the evidence are text messages between owners.
Yeah.
And some of them are pretty damning.
I guess one of the biggest subjects of this is Lamar Jackson.
Lamar Jackson's one. Kyler Murray, a manipulation on how Justin Herbert had his contract worked up. Remember the Kyler Murray thing where they end up throwing stuff in like you have to watch this much amount of tape.
Yeah, well, because he was playing video games.
Money because the way the Browns signed Deshaun Watson to the most guaranteed money in the history of the sport, this was an effort by NFL owners to try to correct that market and maybe deliver with contracts of their quarterbacks who are more eligible, because clearly Deshaun Watson, not at the level of a Kyler Murray or a Justin Herbert. So when those guys, definitely Lamar Jackson. So when it comes time for those guys to get their contracts, this seemed to be a coordinated effort to make sure that nobody's getting that Deshaun Watson money.
Way to go, truck stop Jimmy.
Ruined it for everybody.
Let's get back to this real quick. What is it? Cut number, where are we? Number 10, please, sir, on today's list. This is Lamont Paris having his summer press conference availability yesterday. Elijah was there. Do you want to set this up? I mean, it's pretty obvious, but I mean, just about CMB.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. My boy Chaz Frazier from ABC Columbia asked the question, with Colin getting drafted this week, draft is tomorrow, and he's going to be taken in the first round. He asked pretty simply, what is the NBA or the team that's going to draft Colin getting from Colin Murray Boyles?
I just had a conversation 2 days ago with a team that told me they were going to potentially be in a position to trade up to where they would be in his draft window, and that I looked really smart because that just happened. And so, they may or may not take him, but the conversations I had was about who he is as a player. And this guy's going to owe me a percentage of his salary when this is all said and done, if you could hear these conversations that I have with these guys. But the beauty of that is that I tell them the truth, and I think that's why they continue to call me, because they know I'm not in the business of gaslighting at all. I want them to trust what I say, and so, but I tell them the truth. And what I continue to tell all of these teams is that, it's always you're drafting guys on ceiling, and and a lot of times they do. They want to draft a guy that maybe one day, even if he's a higher risk guy, maybe one day he's got a chance to be MVP of the league. You're looking for that. But I recommend to these guys to draft Colin not on his ceiling, but draft him on his floor, because his floor is it would surprise me. Now, this is saying a lot, because I watched last night's game, and Hartenstein was at the free throw line, and they said in the G League, he was in the G League finals, and he made 8 threes and had a triple-double and was the MVP. And then he's got a small offensive role for Oklahoma City. Big role in general, but a small offensive role. So I say this with a grain of salt or 3, but once Colin learns, and I don't profess to know the NBA like that, but once Colin learns how to move in the NBA, what the rules are, the rule changes, there are different rules. Once he learns those things, I think any team that gets him is going to be shocked at how viable an option he would be to actually put in a game.
I think that's a great final point that he made right there. And you and I have discussed this before, and this goes back to before you and I ever met. Yes, the floor is the same length, and yes, the rims are 10 feet off the ground, and the free throw line is 15 feet away.
Insert Norman Dale demonstration.
Yeah, but at the same time, but he's right there. I really believe that from the high school to college to professional rank, the changes that the NBA has in terms of its rules and how you must play the game are more different than anything. Look, baseball's baseball, right? Soccer's soccer, and really the biggest difference in football is like the hash marks in the NFL. Right?
Very small differences.
2 feet in, and it's just a couple of things, right? But basketball has, they don't do it as much anymore, but I still remember when I was a kid. I know I'm not a kid anymore, and they don't have it. But I was like, what is illegal defense?
Right, yeah.
They used to call technical fouls for illegal defense. Basically, it was like if you even looked like you were in a zone for a second, or if you came out to guard somebody like above the hash mark and things like that. I'm like, you're supposed to stop people from scoring, but not the NBA.
Yeah, eliminated the 7'3" guys from just parking it underneath the rim.
So anyway, but I love that. That was a terrific answer on who he can become, and it goes to what you told us in the first part of this hour. As soon as those things click for him, and I don't think it'll take that long. That's why I asked you within his rookie contract. And I guess depending on where he goes makes a difference in terms of his usage and role. But, the ceiling is pretty high.
Absolutely. I mean, here's the thing that Colin has, that even some of the higher end prospects, the highest end, because I consider Colin one of the higher end players in this draft. Honestly, if I'm making a big board, I don't know if I name 6 players in this draft that I would prefer over Colin Murray Boyles, right? And guys like, Ace Bailey are going to be taken significantly higher. I don't know if I take Ace Bailey over Colin Murray Boyles. Like, I think that highly of him as a prospect, but he's got some things that you just can't teach. You look at some of these guys in this draft as it pertains to playmaking that are in more playmaking roles. I mean, I think his playmaking ability is similar to somebody like a Dylan Harper, but you got him in a forward's body, not a point guard's body. I think his playmaking ability is significantly better than a Trey Johnson from Texas, or an Ace Bailey from Rutgers, or a Con Knipple from Duke, or a VJ Edgecombe from Baylor. Those are guys that are going to be taken ahead of Colin.
Yeah, all higher.
But Colin is a better playmaker than those guys. And I think the one reason why it wasn't maybe as highlighted throughout the years, because the team that he played on, they just missed a lot of shots around him. And if you look at the production of how much better South Carolina was per 100 possessions when he was on the floor compared to when he was off, is staggering. And it's an effect that nobody else in this draft has had on their own teams. And I think NBA teams look at those type of numbers a lot. But he's got a lot of things that you can't teach: defensive instincts, playmaking ability, a lot of selflessness. I mean, this is a guy, too, that, again, like Alan said in the last hour, took a lot of blame for things he never had to take blame for that weren't his fault last year. He's incredibly mature. The shooting scares some teams, and him being maybe a little undersized for the position scares some teams, but there are smart teams in the NBA that draft on things that matter. And Colin has a lot of those traits that matter and translate.
Is he somebody? I know we're up against it. So, well, I'll tell you, I'll hit you on the other side, because there's somebody. It's not going to be an apples to apples, but there's somebody I want to ask you about that just won a championship, and I want to see what you think about my at least somewhat comp with that. We'll do that for you, and it's a little J or Nay time coming up. Not feeling like yourself as you get older, guys? You're wondering why? Don't wait for it to change or go away. If it's the bedroom, the boardroom, the weight room, whatever room, or out just, living your daily life, don't wait for it to go away. And don't be embarrassed about things that you think you shouldn't talk about or just don't want to talk about. You need to. And you can see Dr. Dan Balknight and his team at the Men's Clinic. You get a one-on-one consultation, helps get to the root of the issues by having Dan and the staff know you and talk with you about what you do every day and what's not happening for you. That way they can prescribe a one-size, or not a one-size-fits-all treatment, but instead something that is just right for you. There's no such thing He tried to say in English, as a one-size-fits-all treatment at the men's clinic. They are experts in healthcare for men and dedicated to making you feel like yourself again. 803-875-MENS. They get results at the men's clinic. Welcome back in. It's the Postgame Show. Final few minutes of our second hour. 5 o'clock headlines coming your way in just a little bit. More on Colin Murray-Boyles, who again has been invited to the NBA draft, drive around the SEC. Speaking of the SEC, today's start bench drop. These are hot seat coaches. Which one's the hottest seat? That's your starter. Brian Kelly, Billy Napier, Brent Venables, LSU, Florida, Oklahoma. Real quick here, and then we'll get to Jay or Nay. I'm not comparing them apples to apples in terms of how they play the game, but is Colin Murray-Boyles like Jalen Williams at OKC? Is that somebody that Colin can compare to, like in terms of, what's it? Because again, he played at Santa Clara. Carolina might be a more known commodity than Santa Clara from just a recognition perspective,
right?
But basketball wise, let's face it, Carolina's pretty far down the list. So this is kind of South Carolina's got a guy.
In terms of like what people would consider to be diamonds in the rough find, even though Jalen Williams, here's the thing, Jalen Williams had really good college numbers in terms of his effectiveness. I'm not saying he was out here scoring, 25 points a game at the college level or doing anything like that. I mean, I can't even remember exactly what it was that he averaged, but Santa Clara was a different team when he was off the floor.
Yeah.
And there was still some development needed. Like, there were some questions about Jalen Williams coming out of college, and I don't think a lot of people expected him to make the impact that he did early on. Yeah, his last year, he averaged 18, which is still pretty good, but he had a lot of underlying metrics that proved why he would be a perfect fit for what it is they do. And I know Jalen Williams was the second best player on an NBA championship team. In a way, he's a role player.
Yeah.
He's a guy who can get to the basket, but he's
12th.
not.
I looked him up, picked 12th. I mean, he's in that. Again, I'm not comparing their games directly, but their
situation. Projection,
Yeah.
yes. And Colin projects really well as an NBA player.
Yeah.
Things that become draft analytics darlings are a lot of those type of guys. And the reason they become so coveted is because their projection might say they're in the 10 to 15 range, but realistically, they're going to be one of the 5 or 6 most impactful players in the class. And that's how I view Colin. And Jalen Williams in his draft class is one of the 5 most valuable and productive players in that class, and he was picked 12th.
Yeah.
So that's where
I see some comps. I see that.
Absolutely. In terms of a draft position standpoint.
Look at me, man.
That's NBA analyst Jay Phillips.
That should be a J or Nay. All right, let's do it. We have some game show music time here. We missed
absolutely
it. Well, we didn't miss it yesterday. We were just late. That was my fault.
That's right. Always, yeah.
That's always my fault.
We're always throwing under the bus. All right, J or Nay. BYU just landed 5-star quarterback Ryder Lyons. They also landed A.J. DeBanza, who was the number 1 player in the basketball class.
Yeah.
So, J or Nay, BYU Athletics is about to become more of a nationally relevant program in both of those sports in the new age of college
athletics. Well, I think they could be, man. And they look, they're a national brand. Now, Lyons is going to, I think, go on his mission. He's a Mormon, so he's going to go on his mission
He'll
first
be playing
and then come back.
27.
That's right. So, but not surprised. Not surprised to see that. Yeah, BYU can do some big things.
And a quick J or Nay here. Yeah. We said CMB to the Oklahoma City Thunder would be his best fit. The worst would be Phoenix.
Oh, gosh. The worst would be like Washington.
Well, yes. Washington's the worst for everybody.
I'm gonna say nay because I think I could find a few others that might be worse.
Okay.
That's just me. All right. Start, bench, drop. Headlines of the day. More coming up. Keep it here. Griffin Pools and Spas ready to help you and your family turn your backyard into a fantastic oasis of fun for years and years to come. If you and the family have been dreaming about getting a pool built in your backyard, just stop and look around and feel around outside right now and say, is it the time? Yeah. You know it is. Griffin Pools and Spas has been in Lexington for years, but helping families all across the Midlands achieve those backyard dreams, whether it's a brand new pool, maybe enhancing your pool with a few add-ons here and there, or maybe you want a hot tub or a spa to go along with it. Hey, whatever it is that you want, Griffin Pools and Spas can make it happen for you. They'll come out, see what's up. Next thing you know, there it is. The only caveat is you have to invite Elijah and me over to swim as often as possible.
I will cannonball.
Steps away from the Lake Murray Dam in Lexington, and always online to learn more at griffinpoolsandspas.com.
From the Wetzel's Automotive Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell with several accidents to get to you. They're causing some issues on the roadways, starting with one on Augusta Highway near Bar Road, Dutch Fork Road at Highway 76 near US 176 and Broad River Road, Farrow Road at Highway 555 at I-77, Neely Wingard Road near Pond Branch Road, and lastly, a report of a pretty big accident over on Fish Hatchery Road near US 21, US 176, and Charleston Highway. Apparently, that is backed up all the way to Bramblewood Circle.
It is 5 o'clock news time on this Tuesday. Welcome back in. It's also the final hour of the Postgame Show alongside Elijah Campbell. I'm Jay Phillips. Appreciate you being with us. Once again, we start with some Gamecock news. Colin Murray Boyles becomes the first South Carolina men's basketball player to be invited to the NBA draft in the modern draft era. He'll be in the green room tomorrow night. He, of course, from right here in Columbia, played at AC Flora, went out west for a year.
Wasatch.
For a couple of years here with South Carolina. Projected anywhere tomorrow night, and we'll obviously have more on him tomorrow ahead of the draft and then Thursday's recap, Elijah. But right now, it's a wide range in the first round, anywhere from maybe 8 to upwards of 20. You mentioned earlier from the studies you've done, if he goes past 20, that would be kind of shocking. Now, I guess it could depend on what some teams are doing and some movement here and there. I know there was another, the Celtics are making moves. I believe the Hawks have just made a big trade, and I guess there's a bunch of guys moving around. So, who knows who's going to do what once draft night comes, but that 8 to 15, 16 feels most realistic.
Yeah, especially considering how high I know Colin is on probably a few NBA big boards and the interest, right? I mean, the Phoenix Suns aren't calling Lamont Paris to talk about Colin and taking him at 10.
Allegedly.
Not.
The
Allegedly.
Phoenix Suns.
Yes. Allegedly. He did not say it explicitly, but I think we could read between the lines there pretty well. And look, when you read a lot of draft prognosticators and the intel they get on Colin, it ranges. A lot of them love him, but John Hollinger from The Athletic, a guy who used to be in the front office of the Memphis Grizzlies, is a guy who has written on several occasions that Colin's maybe one of the more divisive players in this NBA draft in terms of how evaluators feel about him. A lot of them do think that his lack of three-point shooting in college and him being a little undersized for the position at the NBA level is a big turnoff. Many others also don't care, but they look at everything else that Colin can bring to the table from a basketball perspective. So with that being said, I still don't see him falling past. I don't see him falling past 15 or 16.
Yeah.
I think if he falls to the Oklahoma City Thunder
at 15,
he fits the profile of what Sam Presti's drafted over the last several years. Guys that rate really high in certain metrics, guys who do a lot outside of scoring. And Colin certainly does a lot outside of scoring. It's a really smart team. They draft those types of players. I'd be really surprised to see him fall further than 15, maybe 16. If he gets to 20, I'll be pretty shocked. I think he'll beat Ronaldo Balkman.
Yeah.
He's taken 20th.
That's right. Was he 19, 20? Yeah, okay, yeah. Balkman is great. Isaiah's a bum. That's all I remember is they had a microphone in front of a Knicks fan at that draft. Oh, man.
Ronaldo Balkman, they had the last South Carolina Gamecock taken in the first round.
In the first round. That's 20 years ago, yeah. Right?
2007.
Yeah. I'm telling you.
Almost 20.
Boy, if he had it, man, he could have been. He could have been. Sometimes, I've said before, we've done the studies. Some nights he just didn't care.
Yep.
Coach Odom and the staff knew it. and he averaged like less than 8 minutes a game. And in the other nights, he was a first-round player.
He was really good.
Man. Colin this past season for what was not a good South Carolina team, let's just call it like it is, averaged 16.8 points, 8.3 boards, 2.5 assists, 1.5 steals, basically 1.5 blocks, 32 starts. That's every Carolina game, 11 20-point games, 9 double-doubles, second team all SEC, led the team in points, rebounds, steals, blocks, and was second on the team in assists. And you say all those things for, again, a team that was not good, meaning defenders knew who the best player was and who to negate, although I suppose you could say, well, let him get his a little bit, and nobody else is going to do a whole lot for you. But that's not always how it works. So, big year. He'd be of course, Gigi was taken in the second round a couple of years ago, and Colin would become just the 39th player in the history of the NBA, which goes back to the 40s, to be drafted.
Long time.
Yeah. So we'll see.
Our friend Justin Hall sent me a text message with a list of first-round draft picks all time. Colin will be the 8th. How many of the other 7 can you name?
Can we? I won't look. You can tell right here. Nudge portion.
Yes.
But I'll be happy to do that on the other side, and y'all can. You have my word.
We're honor code.
You have my word that I will not look that up. How many?
There are 7. Ronaldo Bachman was 2006. Just kidding. Correction.
Okay.
2006.
So Bachman plus 6 others?
Mm-hmm.
And Colin could become the 8th?
Yep.
Okay. I think I do. I think I can. I think I can.
Jay Phillips is the little engine that could.
We'll come back to that in just a second. Atlanta Braves won last night. How about they keep beating the Mets, man?
They're using the Mets as a personal pinata.
Schedule the Mets. I don't have the number in front of me. I saw it on David O'Brien's piece last week after the Braves had swept the Mets. But seriously, the Braves in like the last 50 games against the Mets have won like 36 or something. I mean, they're just killing the Mets, man. I forget what it was, but in the last couple of seasons, they're just crushing the New York Mets.
The Braves have found their pinata.
Well, look, that's the team. I mean, there's something about it. But remember, like a couple of years ago when the Braves, it was 2 seasons ago when the Braves like stormed to that finish to win the division, but then they kind of tapered off in the playoffs. And by kind of tapered off, I mean they went. But remember they beat the Mets to win the division. Like that,
yeah. That was last year. No,
that was 2 years ago.
They beat the Mets to get into the playoffs.
Yeah, that was 2 years ago when they won the division. Yeah, they didn't win it last year. That was Philly's job. Philadelphia, by the way, now up a game and a half on New York. Braves 10.5 back. Braves only 5 games under 500. They were 10.
They were 10, yeah. So only is appropriate in this scenario.
But the Braves win last night 3-2. Ronald Acuna had a good game for Atlanta. The Braves are once again, kids, favorites tonight in New York City. Mainly because Spencer Strider goes for Atlanta. Now, he's just 2-5 with the 3.89, but he's been much, much better the last couple of starts. But Frankie Montas is going for New York. Now, I see him on this picture, Elijah Campbell, Frankie Montas, in a Cincinnati Red ball cap.
Former Cincinnati Red, Frankie Montas.
I see no statistics. So is he making his first – I'm assuming he's making – his first appearance of the season. I'm trying to look that up real quick here. Yeah, okay, so he has no statistics. So there you go. So that's why the Braves are favored tonight. This kid hadn't pitched yet. Is he any good?
Kid, I think he's my age.
So not a kid?
I want to say Frankie Montas was a former
he's older than you.
Oakland A.
He is 32 years old.
So this is this grown man's season,
he has not thrown a major league pitch in 2024. And he missed he pitched 1 game in 2023 for the Yankees. All right.
They haven't even updated his picture. His picture on ESPN is from 2 teams ago.
His picture is of him in a Cincinnati Reds cap.
And he hasn't pitched for the Reds in a hot minute.
Braves are minus 145 tonight in New York. 7:10 first pitch. Spencer Strider on the hill as the Braves go for their 5th consecutive win over the Metropolitans.
Would be exciting.
I'm here for it.
I think they do it.
I'm always here for it. Aaron Rodgers was on the Pat McAfee show today. Shocker. Says I love these things too. Remember like the other day when it was It wasn't Aaron that said it, but Aaron Rodgers is expected to sign with the Steelers. Today, Aaron was asked if this is his last season. Quote, "Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is it." That's why we just did a one-year deal. Steelers didn't need to put any extra years on that or anything, so this was really about finishing with a lot of love and fun and peace for the career I've had. I played 20 freaking years. It's been a long run. I've enjoyed it, and no better place to finish than in one of the cornerstone franchises of the NFL with Mike Tomlin and a great group of leadership and guys in the city that expect you to win. End quote. On the McAfee Show today. Pretty sure this is it. What does it take beyond gobs and gobs and gobs of money for Aaron Rodgers to want to come back next season? Listen, I keep seeing things like, hey, can Aaron Rodgers, I even saw one thing, it was reputable too. I wish I could remember who it was now.
Probably get up.
Maybe so. Is Aaron Rodgers the quarterback that can finally lead Pittsburgh to a playoff win? And I'm like, they've won 6 Super Bowls, man. I know it's been a while.
Quit talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers like they're the Cleveland Browns.
We win a playoff.
We must quit this. We must stop.
I'm like, I know it's not what they want it to be, but that's just it. Winning a playoff game is not going to be seen as a huge measure of success in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, or Steeler Nation, which, by the way, Steeler Nation is coast to coast and border to border. I'm starting to believe.
It's a pretty national fan base.
I think I don't know. They got fans everywhere, man. Regardless, I'm not here for that debate. But winning a playoff game, I suppose in the short term, yay.
Their standards are a little higher.
But again, we talked about it a few weeks ago before this deal. Without Aaron Rodgers, as currently constructed, all of the things being equal, let's say Mason Rudolph is their quarterback. The Pittsburgh Steelers are the 3rd best team in their division. I don't think they're as bad as the Cleveland Browns. With Aaron Rodgers, the Pittsburgh Steelers are the 3rd best team in their division. He does not elevate them past either Baltimore or Cincinnati, however you want to view which one of those is the better team. I'd say Baltimore right now. Cincinnati better get better on defense. Offensively, the Bengals were amazing.
As good as anybody.
Amazing. And Lamar is Lamar. But he doesn't elevate you past those two. Does he make you better? Yeah. But what are we talking about?
Marginally.
I mean, what they were 9-8 last year?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay. Does he make you 11-6?
That I don't know if I believe.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
He might make you 10-7.
Yeah. Again, yeah.
That's assuming your defense is as good as it was last year.
And that may
and they traded away the 2nd best receiver on the team.
That may get you in the playoffs. It may not. I don't know. I think my Broncos were 10-7 last year and made the playoffs. I don't know if 10-7 gets it done. I mean, it probably does. Somewhere. I don't know, man.
And they had Russell Wilson. How much better is Aaron Rodgers than Russell Wilson?
He's better. But again, is he 2 wins better? He's not division championship better. Not in that division.
No. Oh, God, no.
I still think, I'm for the sake of the discussion, it's Baltimore's division to lose based on how Baltimore is playing and what Cincinnati needs to do, and if Cincinnati has done enough. And if Cincinnati doesn't get Hendricks signed to some kind of deal and he is disgruntled.
Or their 1st-round draft pick, who is still unsigned.
Out. So is Denver's, by the way. Ooh. Johnny Barron hadn't signed yet. Travis Hunter did sign his deal, though, as we continue our NFL talk. A 4-year, $46 million deal with Jacksonville. All money, signing bonus-wise, guaranteed up front. So
good for him.
He's getting paid. And he has been practicing on both sides of the ball, and they say that's what he's going to do to start the season. He will be playing receiver and corner.
I'm just excited to see how it works out. This is like a fun science experiment.
That's our drive around. Or excuse me, no, it's not our drive around. That comes later. That's our integrated media headlines of the day on the Postgame Show. See, I almost did it for you on purpose.
Look at that pump fake.
That's right. I do what I can. 803-948-8327 for all your home theater needs, including watching all that football later on this season. Call my good friends at Integrated Media. All right, there's a quiz coming my way. I'm going to sit right here and not look at anything other than the screen in front of me.
I'll be watching you like a hawk.
Can I guess the other 6 Gamecock first-round picks? Man, I hope so. I know I got to go back a ways, and for a lot of these dudes, I probably wasn't born.
There may or may not have been a 31-year gap in between some.
But I'm gonna try when the postgame show returns. Across the South Carolina Midlands, AAA Heating and Air is your ally against the hot weather that's out there. Start with a free replacement estimate if you think your system isn't capable of keeping your family nice and cool all summer long. Let their expert team ensure that your home is an oasis of comfort. And with guaranteed financing, this is more accessible than ever. 12 months, no payments or interest, 15-year parts and labor warranty that speaks volumes of Roy and Dana Finley's trust in their service and in their products. They've been in it for the long haul, and they will stay in it for the long haul, just like their warranties. AAA Heating and Air has installed a brand new system at my house here recently, up where my kids sleep. They are very happy. No more, Dad, it's hot. Now, Dad, it's yay. That's what you want at your house, too. Don't just take my word for it, though. Go over to callAAAtoday.com or call 803-677-1500 and stay cool with AAA Heating and Air. And tell them we sent you. 19 minutes after 5 o'clock here on a Tuesday afternoon. Welcome back in. Post-game show rolling on from downtown Columbia's Herndon Chevy Studios. Jay and Elijah with you, talking a little Carolina hoops as Colin Murray Boyles has been invited to the NBA draft tomorrow night in New York. It's officially, well, it's in New York City. It was Brooklyn. They're not at the Garden or Radio City or anything like that.
It's at Barclays, isn't it?
Yeah,
Barclays Center?
yeah. Does anybody like do the Nets have fans?
Dozens, I think. I think there are.
There are dozens of us. Dozens!
I think that's the Brooklyn Nets fan base.
There you go.
Fun story. The Brooklyn Nets, when they made the relocation,
Yep.
like a year afterwards, followed me on Twitter randomly. I think I might have had like 50 followers or something. Like, I'm a senior in high school, man. And I was like, oh, that's cool. An NBA team, a verified NBA team has followed me on Twitter. So I bought a shirt. I was never going to be a Nets fan, but I was like, you know what? You rock with me, I rock with you. All right, that's how we're gonna do this. And then about 3 or 4 years later, I noticed they unfollowed.
Oh, boo!
So now I got beef with the Brooklyn Nets.
Yeah, you should.
Forever. I'll be preying upon their downfall for as long as they exist.
You should.
I thought we had a friendship.
Yeah, I know, man. That's not cool. That's not cool
At all.
All right, so I've been quizzed. Well, I'm being quizzed.
Yes.
The
Present tense.
So Carolina, if Colin goes in the first round, excuse me, that'll be the 8th Gamecock men's basketball player picked in the first round of the NBA draft. Is that correct?
That'd be correct.
Okay. We know one of them we've already talked about in Ronaldo Balkman going to the Knicks 19 years ago.
Yep, 2006.
So I need to come up with 6 more. Alex English.
Nope. Oh, no. Alex English was a second rounder.
What the hell? Brian Winters.
Correct. Brian Winters, 1974, 12th overall to the Los Angeles Lakers. So that's 2.
Kevin Joyce.
Kevin Joyce is correct. 1973, 11th overall to the to Golden State. I think they're the Warriors then. Still.
Now, this one's going to be, okay, John Roach?
John Roach is also one of those. 1971, 14th overall with Phoenix Suns, but traded to the Los Angeles Lakers.
Yeah, and then he went to Denver, right? Did he play in the ABA first?
Ooh.
I feel like he played in the ABA. Then I know he played for the Nuggets in the NBA.
So John Roach started with New York in the ABA.
So that's the Nets.
I think this is NYA. Yeah, New York Nets. So he played in the ABA for the Nets until he actually played for the Nets and the Kentucky Colonels.
And the Colonels.
That's pretty sick.
Okay.
And the Utah Stars.
Okay.
And then
R.I.P.
75, 76.
R.I.P. Utah Stars.
Yeah, I know.
They didn't come over.
They didn't. Moses Malone couldn't save them for the year he was there.
Who the 4 were? The Nuggets, the Pacers, the Nets, and
You know it.
Nuggets, Pacers, Nets.
A very successful NBA franchise.
Oh, this is gonna kill me. Nuggets, Pacers, Nets, and Houston. No,
Nope. Same state.
Spurs.
The Spurs.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, back to it. All right, okay. God, see, I wish Tommy were here. These are the times when I miss.
Tommy would have gotten this done already.
Well, yeah, he'd have been like, "What's taking you so long, kid?" I know. Okay, I can't remember the name, and y'all don't yell at me. Those of you who are old enough to remember, but somebody got drafted by the Hawks in the first round.
You are correct. In 1968.
And I'm blanking on I know the player, and I've met him. He's tall. He's a center. Who is it?
Skip Harlicka.
Harlicka, yeah.
So Skip Harlicka, that's 5.
Mike Dunleavy wasn't a first round pick.
Nope.
No.
Mike Dunleavy left the first round.
Oh, golly. God, this is hard, Elijah.
This is. The 70s are a majority of these. You're missing 1975,
Okay,
1972. was the two you have left.
75, and it wasn't Alex. And it wasn't Dunleavy. That's not Mike Doyle, was it? No, he went to the Hawks, but he was a second-round pick, right?
Mike Dunleavy was a 6th-round pick. Funny thing about Mike Dunleavy, on Basketball Reference, they give you the nicknames of players, and under Mike Dunleavy Sr., they have Doonesbury, Dunkleberry, Dunes. That's a great collection of nicknames.
I don't.
Dunkleberry.
I guess I'm not. Again, I don't. 1975. I'm gonna know the player because I was a little kid going to games, but I'm just. Help me out.
That'd be Tom Boswell, 17th overall to the Boston Celtics.
You know what? I would not have gotten that. I would not have gotten that. And then we got one more.
And then that would be 1972, 8th overall to the New York Knicks, Tom Riker.
Oh.
You forgot the Toms.
Man. Wow. Yeah, I guess I wasn't as good. I was a little kid. It's not. It's hard. It's hard when you're a little kid. You know.
Hard to remember all that. A lot has changed since the
Tom
70s.
Boswell. If you had said was Tom Boswell draft, I would have been like Tom Boswell. Was he? I barely remember him.
Tom Boswell won him a ring, 1976.
Yeah. Nice going. Well, okay. So good luck, Colin, adding to the list. We hope
He will be added to that list.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, he's not. I mean, he's going to get drafted tomorrow night in the first round. They do have both rounds tomorrow night, right?
No, they're breaking up this year.
Are they?
For the first time, yes. I don't know why.
I was kind of kidding.
I don't know why the second round of the NBA draft needs to have a standalone night, but apparently they are. I guess maybe to avoid a future MVP being drafted during the middle of a Quesarito Taco Bell commercial. Nikola Jokic.
Right.
Famously having his name popped up on the screen during a commercial for Taco Bell's greatest discontinued menu item.
Oh, that's fair. That's fair.
The Quesarito was awesome.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one.
Corbin was yelling at you on the text line about Tom Riker.
I'm sorry. I imagine he's not the only one. Yeah, that what I should have gotten. But Boswell I would not have gotten. And I apologize to Skip Harlica. I knew there was a big man that went to the Hawks.
That narrows it down.
I know. Well, I tried.
You tried. I appreciate the effort. And again, shout out to my friend Justin Hall,
Yeah.
who joins me on the High School Football Scoreboard
Yeah.
show.
He's Braves fan.
Falls. Yeah, big Braves fan. Big Braves guy.
All right, start bench drop. We'll get you some results, and we'll give you ours as part of the drive around the SEC because it's SEC centric. These hot seat SEC football coaches going into 2025. Whose seat is the hottest of the three? That's your starter. But these are all hot seats, in our opinion. So in alphabetical order, your choices: Brian Kelly of LSU, Billy Napier of Florida, Brent Venables of Oklahoma. I want to give one. Hang on, let me go to this before we go to the break because it was a good one. I already gave you this one, Elijah, but I want to. Josh hit us. Start Venables, and he's got commentary. Start Venables.
I love it.
He's gone.
He's gone. Okay.
Bench Napier, bad season, and he's done. Drop Kelly. LSU will have a good year. Okay.
I expect LSU to have a good year. Yeah.
But a good year at LSU this season is
10 wins and playoffs.
I think it's got to end in the playoff.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, got to end in the playoff. Now, you might not win a playoff game.
But you got to be invited to the party.
You better be in. Yeah. Like Tennessee, it's kind of like Tennessee last year. Yeah, you know, Tennessee, and I don't even know that was the expectation for Tennessee relative to where LSU is. But
I think LSU is maybe more expected to make the playoff
I think so too.
than Tennessee was.
I think so too. I think so. Yeah. So hit us up. And one guy hits us and says, bad time for coaches whose names start with a B. Yes.
Yeah, because usually I do the initials for these types of things when I tally them up.
Yeah.
And it's just every single one starts with a B, so I got to look extra hard, make sure I don't put a tally in a place where it doesn't belong.
Yeah, I put the three guys with B's just to save space on Twitter. All right, drive around the SEC. Results on this for you coming up.
From the Wetzel's Automotive Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell with many, many accidents to get to you that are causing some issues on the roadways this afternoon, starting with one on Augusta Highway near Barr Road. Looks like that one's near West Main Street as well. Also one on Blythewood Road at US 321 and Winsboro Road, Forum Drive near Marketplace Common Circle, 2 on 26, one eastbound at Sunset Boulevard near Exit 110, and a disabled vehicle is causing some backup on 26 West at Columbia Avenue near Exit 91. Also have accidents on 77 southbound at I-26 near Exit 1, Lady Street at Hugh G. Street, Mason Road at Main Street, and Neely Wingard Road near Pond Branch Road.
It is Drive Around the SEC time on this Tuesday. Welcome back in. Jay and Elijah with you. Start Bench Drop today is SEC-themed. SEC Hot Seat Coaches. Brian Kelly, Billy Napier, Brent Venables. Our good friend McGee Moody, the coach, just hitting us up. He's got the most popular trend of the day. Start, Brent Venables. Bench, Billy Napier. Drop, Brian Kelly. Elijah's got a few on the text line that we'll get to here in just a second, and we're going to give you ours here during this break as well. Before we do, real quick, as we're talking the NBA draft, for the conference that was the best in the country, and I know a lot of guys, look, maybe not a lot of guys that are draft eligible at this point, although basically anybody that's played a year is draft eligible, so I'm not sure exactly what the NBA is thinking about a lot of guys from the SEC, but only 4 SEC players are listed amongst the top 25 best available going into the night. And this is ESPN's ranking of NBA players. I'm not going to get into all the details, so Elijah, I'll just get you to give everybody a quick assessment. They are in this order of the top 25 players: Trey Johnson of Texas at number 5, Jeremiah Fears of Oklahoma at number 8, Colin Murray Boyles of South Carolina at number 13, and Asa Newell of Georgia at number 19. And I'm just double-checking to make sure that I did read this list correctly and that there are no other SEC players.
Because normally that list is littered with Kentucky Wildcats.
Yeah. And interestingly, the top 2, they're in the SEC now, but the top 2 are from Texas and Oklahoma. So
just imagine like 10 years ago.
I suppose this is more a matter of experienced guys that maybe the NBA doesn't value as much, being the stars of the Southeastern Conference, and maybe we see a few surprises here or there. First, maybe what does this tell you? I mean, for a league that was so good, 14 of the 16 schools made the men's basketball tournament, right? Only Carolina and LSU missed out, and Carolina's got one of these players. I mean, there's a little twist of irony in that.
Yeah, I think really the big thing, what it tells you, is that what's valued in the NBA, and Lamont Paris in the clip we played earlier in the show really highlights this. It's the NBA values a lot of what your ceiling is, and they're more so than other sports, whether it be, the NFL or MLB. And MLB does this a lot, but reaching for what your upside is, drafting somebody on what they think you can be as opposed to what you actually are. And that's why those first 2 that you named, Trey Johnson, Jeremiah Fears, are one-and-done freshmen. They're 19, not even 20 years old. And I think they buy in on that significantly. Asa Newell as well, potentially on the back end of the first round, is a guy who was a freshman last year. And I think that's more so valued in the SEC now. You look at a lot of those teams that were really good, they were veteran-laden teams. Like Walter Clayton Jr. might get picked later in the first round, but if Walter Clayton Jr.
He's number 28.
If he was 19 years old, he's probably taken in the top 15.
Yeah, he's number 28. Just real quick, top 40. Adutero is 32 from Arkansas. Chaz Lanier from Tennessee is number 38, and Janai Broom is number 40. So,
yeah.
And I won't continue to go. I mean, we'll see.
Janai Broom, also another guy if he was 5 years younger.
Yeah. But why not? I don't know. Again, fit, how they play, things like that. And Broom's, I mean,
his style of play isn't as NBA friendly as it is in the college game. He's back to the basket, post up,
and in the NBA at his height, you're kind of. I mean, I hate to say it, you're kind of small.
You're a little more undersized when you're someone like Janai Broom. Like Janai Broom is listed at 6'10" and a half, and as centers, most centers in the NBA are at least 7 foot.
Yeah, and I don't know where do you look. I'm just asking what you're. I'm not doubting you.
Yeah.
What I'm looking at lists him at 6'9".
Oh, see, this was Tankathons, which I think these measurements are pre-combine.
I think So I think that's what I'm saying. I think his combine, they were like, bro, you ain't 6'10" and a half.
Yeah, because they measure him at the combine without shoes.
Right.
You're measured without shoes at the,
which is fine. And I think he can play on somebody's team, but it's just interesting to me that of the top 25 prospects in a year when the Southeastern Conference was that good, it's more a collective than it is the individual talent. So, anyway.
And that's really the reason the SEC was so good. They had a lot of collected talent of older players.
Right.
The roster construct of your best teams in the SEC, older players.
Right.
I mean, you look at the four guys we talked about, whether, between Newell, Collin, Fears, and Johnson, those guys, 3 of them made the NCAA tournament. All 3 that did make the NCAA tournament were bounced after 1 game.
Yeah. What year is Newell? Is he a star?
Freshman.
He's a freshman, too?
Yep. High school teammates with Cooper Flag.
So 3 freshmen and a sophomore?
Correct.
Yeah, interesting. But that's the NBA for you. Again, why even make them go to college? And I say make them. That's the NBA says you can't enter our league without being a year removed from high school. They don't make them go to college, but why make them wait at all? I don't get it. But whatever.
Silly.
All right, start, bench, drop. You want to go first?
Yeah, absolutely. So it took me a while to end up landing on this, but I went with starting Billy Napier.
Okay.
Because I think really the reason he's there right now is because of a fella named DJ Lagway. And if that fella named DJ Lagway has a good year and you still manage to drool on yourself to a 7-5 season, what are you there for? I mean, really, this is the University of Florida. You got a blue chip quarterback. Usually, if you look at some of the non-successful Florida teams over the last few years, they've been coaches that have had decent quarterbacks but didn't maybe yield the greatest results. Lagway is a dude, right? And if you can't win with him, then how good are you going to be whenever you recruit well at other positions? And I think this is a truly make or break year for Billy Napier. I'm going to bench Brian Kelly, and a lot of it's because of what Alan said with the success of other programs on LSU's campus. Look, the baseball team just won their 2nd championship in 3 years, and those are the only 3 years Jay Johnson's been the coach of that program. Kim Mulkey has them as a nationally relevant women's basketball program with a championship in her time as the coach there. Brian Kelly has yet to take LSU to the playoffs. But in terms of which one is hotter between Napier and Kelly, I'm going to go Napier just because I also have more confidence that team can succeed this year. And Brent Venables, I'm dropping just because I feel like Oklahoma does not want to have to fire him. I think he will have the longest leash because of his connection to that program. And I referred to it earlier as like that Wesley Snipes meme, whenever he's crying while holding someone at gunpoint. I can't remember what movie that's from, but it's a popular meme where he's shedding a tear while holding a gun at somebody's head. And I think that's exactly what Oklahoma would be if they ever had to part ways with Brent Venables.
I love your reasoning on all 3, and this is going to be really funny for you and me because I am going to start Brent Venables.
Brent Venables. That is the dominant one today. I think a large majority of folks who have partaken in this exercise.
Your reasoning is solid on why they don't, but here's the thing. It's Oklahoma, and I think Oklahoma is creeping into a territory of, I don't want to say they're getting to Nebraska territory, all right, or that Tennessee territory of like 15 years ago, but they better be careful. And they can't let it go again. This is a school. I know what league they're in now. Their fans don't give two you-know-whats. Nope. If they were in the NFL, they'd be expecting to win, I'd say in the NFL, they'd be 12 games.
Win the division.
They expect to win 10 games. It's not even a discussion point.
Mm-hmm.
And they haven't since he's been their head coach. Well, I guess they had the one, right?
Yeah.
They've had 2 6 and 7s.
Yeah.
That's you can't do that. You can't do that at Oklahoma. No. If he does anything, if they don't win 10 plus again, they're going to look to why, And they're going to say, you know what? The common denominator is Brent.
And he's brought in another offensive coordinator.
Yeah. And he's got John Mateer coming in. Yeah. I mean, so will they be better? You better be better than 6.
Oh, God, yeah.
But better than 6 doesn't mean 7. And I don't think it means 8 or 9, man. So I'm going to say the hottest seat just because of where he coaches. Despite everything you just said, I agree with. But I'm still going to start him because it's Oklahoma. I will also bench Napier, though. Or actually, no, sorry, Kelly. Sorry, I'm looking wrong. I'm looking at my how to read them list. I'm benching Kelly for the same reasons. The team is loaded. The pressure is higher because of other coaches being successful. And as you and I mentioned earlier, hey, Brian, Kim's got a title. Jay's got a couple. Basketball's fallen off a little bit, but
they've invested a lot of money in that, though. They brought in a lot of talent.
Yeah. So, I don't think there's a whole lot of separation. That's what makes this one hard today. And, I'll drop Billy. I think DJ bought him the requisite time, and I don't think Florida is looking – they should, but I don't think Florida is looking at the coming season going, dude, you got to win 10 games. I don't think they are. I think they're saying, hey, go win 8. And let's see what you're building.
8 survivable.
I don't think that's what they should be doing at UF, but that's what they are doing at UF. The other two, I think they almost demand that you win 10 games.
You know what might get him fired if he loses to Tennessee at home, because Tennessee does not beat Florida in Florida.
All right,
it's been since 2003.
We'll get y'all's final results and do a little Jay versus the internet on the other side. It's the postgame show. Welcome back in. Final few minutes of the postgame show here on this Tuesday. We'll do it all again tomorrow with more coverage of the NBA draft, which is tomorrow night. So certainly have a lot of that on Thursday. We just got word a few minutes ago that Whit Merrifield has announced his retirement from Major League Baseball. He was not playing with anybody this season. Played with the Braves last year. Obviously, the bulk of his Major League career was with Kansas City Royals, where he was good. Just missed playing for them when they won a World Series, but had some really good, very popular in Kansas City too. I mean, he's a guy who obviously has, we've interviewed Whit several times here on the show, and known him for a long time. But he's a worker, man. He's always talked about, hey, I'm not that guy. I wasn't the guy who was just blessed with it. You got to go out and work. But the folks in Kansas City appreciated him. Then he had some brief stints. Got traded over to Toronto during a playoff run, I think. And had a little bit of time with Philadelphia, and again last year with Atlanta. But nobody this year, and deciding, hey, you know what? I'm good. I've made my money. He signed a big contract.
He did.
Now they got a baby.
He'll end his career as a 3-time All-Star, a career batting average of .280. Just short of 100 home runs, 94 of those, but he stole 218 bases and a career OPS of 741.
Good.
That's good.
Good career, really good. Man. And again, he got that second contract. That's what you want, right? That's what Langston always tells. Doesn't matter the sport.
You get that second contract, you're making money.
Get that second one. All right. I don't know if we can do final results per se. Let me see if I got any more for you real quick here. I think we got the last ones that we could get on Twitter, Elijah. I got one more from David. Start Venables, bench Napier, cut Kelly, which again has been, I think, the overarching theme, right?
Yep, have had 8 of those. The second most popular is starting Venables, cutting Kelly, dropping Napier.
Yeah, that was me.
4.
That was me. And then yours was start Napier.
Yep.
Bench Kelly, drop Venables. Yeah.
I'm not on an island. There was one other submission on the text line.
Well, so you and I were both on the smaller islands than the big one. So appreciate that. That was fun. I think. Do we know tomorrow's? The other one we talked about, is that tomorrow's? Oh,
I say we do that one tomorrow. That's a fun one. We're just full of ideas.
Yeah. I'm just going to say, I think I already told you, I know my starter tomorrow.
I know who your starter is. Yeah.
That's going to be good.
It's going to be a lot of fun.
I think my starter's going to win.
There's a good chance. There's a very good chance.
I don't know. We'll see. That's a tease. All right, let's do a little Jay versus the internet real quick.
All right, tonight, Spencer Strider on the hill for the Braves. He's striking out over under 6.5 Mets tonight.
Over. He's on fire.
You say over. 61% of the internet also says over.
I need some separation. All right.
Reds Yankees tonight. Who records more total bases between Ellie De La Cruz, who's been on fire lately, and Aaron Judge?
Where's the game?
Cincinnati.
Give me De La Cruz at home. What the heck?
He says De La Cruz, and the internet 67% say Aaron Judge.
Yeah, why not?
And then lastly, straight up, who wins? Cardinals Cubs in St. Louis. Battle at the top of the NL Central.
Yeah, Cardinals are certainly doing a lot better since the opening of the season. Cubs.
Jay says the Cubs. And it was a 50-50 split. So the tiebreaker is decided by your boy, and I said the Cubs.
Okay.
Just to spite Jeff Haley.
Good stuff. Thanks to Alan Cole. Thanks to all of you. We'll do it again tomorrow. See you.